Welcome to Unsuccessful. We're your hosts, Jen.
And I'm Brandi, and this is the podcast where we admit out loud
that we suck.
So if life has ever felt like a dumpster fire,
you're in the right place.
Well, let's get into it.
This week, we're diving into Brandi's story, her people-pleasing, perfectionist tendencies, and how they've shaped some of the biggest shifts in her life. From leaving a corporate career in banking to navigating the unexpected adventure of having what she calls her spare child, Brandi's journey is full of twists, turns, and lessons you don't want to miss. And hey, while you're listening, take a screenshot of your favorite moments and upload them onto your Instagram story. Be sure to tag us at Unsuccessful Podcast. Okay, let's go.
It's interesting because in business, you're trying to avoid, it doesn't matter, not business life. You're always trying to avoid that failure, you're really trying to avoid it. And I think I am such a people pleasing perfectionist that the actions that you do inadvertently, I can be quite manipulative. And this is the self-awareness pieces where it's like, what was that? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Right? Because you're trying so hard to uphold this ego and this appearance of yourself, that it has a ripple effect and it affects all these other things. And then you're creating this big, manipulative game loop. Anyway, ultimately it's always like this as you go along in business. Like I always say, business is the biggest personal development and
parenting.
Oh, parenting, huge too. And then just how your ego, every day you're up against your ego, every single day. So what's so interesting is kind of redefining the success and what's unsuccessful. And I guess where I'm going with this is thinking about when I sold my first business or that decision to sell.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually my first kind of taste of a shift in identity. It was my first shift.
What about when you left the bank?
Oh, that was my first. Yeah, that was my first. I've had quite.
But it's more exciting, isn't it? More exciting when you quit your job. Do you think it's more exciting?
Yeah, that was more of a. There was an unsuccessful, but I had something to replace it.
Right, exactly. You threw yourself into your new thing.
There's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And where I'm at now is it sucks, and there's nothing here. I mean, there's some things, but who knows where that will lead. And there's so much unknown, but I've also been here kind of before, just slightly different. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, the challenges that are being presented to you, and how they say that you're only going to be presented to the challenges that you can withstand at the time where, It's so fascinating when you really look back at it. But yeah, if we go right to the beginning, the first identity shift. So I was a small business banker. I grew up, I always say this, the good girl, perfectionist, high achieving. My family was really, education was really important to them. And it's still, it's important and value important to me too. But what that success, the definition of success in my family was quite education based and degree based. Yeah. And my mom has a master's degree. My aunts and my uncles at masters, they're all highly educated people, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I come from a family.
See, I told you.
Yeah. See, now you know.
Academics
were huge in my family.
But are you the oldest?
I am.
Yeah.
Kind of it's obviously I've got a stepside of family, my family. But when I think about my family, it's my mom, my sister, and I'm the oldest, and I'm the oldest grandchild on my maternal side. So I was the oldest cousin, on that side.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in another episode too. Birth order.
Classic right here. It's what's that new thing? It's how's your ADHD going? I'm
undiagnosed ADHD.
Yeah. How's whatever that is.
So how's your degree going? Or how's your job going that has nothing to do with your degree?
Yeah. So anyway, I, those just to share a little bit insight, that's what success was to me. And so I'll never forget my grandpa, when I got the position at the bank, he was finance was really important in my family too. My grandpa actually, when we look at where does the entrepreneurial side come from? My grandpa on my mom's side, he had his business. So he was very entrepreneurial, obviously though, very male dominated industry. But that's kind of like, I think that rubbed off on me for sure. Like a lot of his thought processes and things, but I'll never forget when he said, "Ooh, manager," like the manager, when I was a small business account manager. It was like, ooh,
That's a big word.
that was a big word. It was a big thing. It was like, okay, so here I was. I had got married quite young. Brent and I got married when I was 22. And so I was actually in university, got my degree. And then it was like, okay, now what? So then it's like, get a job at the bank, good job, right? High level, right out of university, actually really quite, successful. And I guess what's interestingly, I didn't know this. Brent recently told me that I guess the first day at the bank, I came home and I cried.
Oh,
I don't remember this.
That's crazy.
Did
you block it out?
I cried.
Wow.
I guess Brent felt really bad, like, because he felt like he was pushing me towards this position, which it's funny because like that didn't even enter my mind. Like, I will say that he's very like traditional that way. You get a job, you know what I mean? Like you stick with your job. The security mindset, all of that, right? So
it's like that too.
Maybe he felt like he was pressuring me with this job. I don't remember that, but anywho. So, I mean, I'm working at this job and a lot of things I, really enjoyed and I learned and loved. And I love to learn. Like when we talk about who you are as a person.
Yeah.
I'm a learning. Yeah. I'm just, definitely, I love to absorb. So when I say like my family, like, the education piece and the success piece, it's like that piece of paper, right? But I love to learn. And I'm just like, my thirst for knowledge is just crazy. So, but the pressure of the bank, and then obviously then I had my first baby. That's huge.
How old were you when you had Olivia?
I was 28. Yeah, but I'd been working at the bank for a couple of years, right? Went on my mat leave. Then came back and was better in my job and all that. And then was starting to work for a manager that it wasn't going well. And then here I am balancing work and balancing like being a mom, right? And I was super mom. Like I was super mom.
Like play dates, like
yeah, like Olivia. Well, I mean, when you're a baby, right? Like,
and you're the
only
child,
the only child, homemade food.
Yeah.
You should have seen me reading all the books. I had like her sleep schedule, like I have it written down, her poop schedule, her everything written. Like, I mean, this was before apps and things, right? She's 15 now, so like how much things have changed. But yeah, I know. I was super mom, right? So I was like, had her on such a beautiful schedule, all these things. And then you bring into, now work stress and now you have to balance those two. It's a lot. And then I had this boss where it was awful. My work-life balance there was zero. Like, I mean, there was zero. I was also at that time starting to get really resentful of Brent.
Yeah.
And his job.
Oh.
So he's a firefighter paramedic, and with his shift schedule and everything, like when he was home, like we had Olivia in daycare, Monday through Friday based on my schedule. I never got a break. Whereas he'd come home, and she'd be gone. Like he had a lot of times where he wasn't parenting, whereas I was always parenting.
Yeah.
And I was just like, screw you.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah. It was interesting. And it was so interesting. And I was always like really kind of jealous too, because my husband's job, like it's so him, like he gets to, a big, like working out, for example, is like, obviously it's a huge value of the fire department. Like you have to be physically fit.
Yeah.
So they get to do that on the job, but that's just a part of like, just life for him too. So, and I'd be like so jealous. Like I'd be just so exhausted. Like I couldn't even like get a workout in, and there he is, like, eating clean food and taking care of himself. And I'm like, can't even survive. I can't even survive.
Yeah. You're trying to survive.
I was trying to survive. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Right. Anywho, I get pregnant with my second, not because I felt ready at all. But I needed to get I needed like a way out of the bank. I needed a way out. I wanted to be on mat leave, and you'll hear that from so many women. Right. And so I did that. And then, that whole mat leave, like, I just feel bad. I even say to Boston, my second, all the time, I'm like, I'm surprised you turned out the way you did. Just like the energy that was inside of me, like they talk about the microbiome and what was happening. It, like, I think there's a lot of things, like the way that he is, the way that he is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I always think I'm like, I blame myself because of like, I had so much anxiety, and energy and just negativity in my body. I mean, he's a beautiful soul. Like, he's absolutely beautiful, but I think sometimes he really absorbs that, and we have a special connection. Because of that, I mean, so funny.
Yeah.
So I go back to work, and my life's awful. Like, I'm just like hit rock bottom, you know? And this is
with
where
a baby, like a 1-year-old.
I have a 2-year-old. I have a 2-year-old and a newborn.
Yeah.
Or, well, I guess Olivia would have been 3, and then Boston would have been 1.
Yeah.
Back at the bank.
Yeah.
And
did you enjoy your mat leave? Like with Boss?
No.
No.
I was so stressed.
You call him Boss?
Boss.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Go Boss.
Yeah, I call him Boss.
Okay.
Did I enjoy my mat leave with Boston?
Yeah. Why were you stressed on your mat leave?
I was so stressed because I didn't want to go back to work. And actually, at that time, I got set up on a multi-level marketing business.
Which one?
New Sarity.
Oh, God. Has anyone heard of it? There'll be one person. If you've heard of it, you have to comment somewhere that you can comment.
New Sarity. Oh, people will remember it. No. Okay, so
what was it?
So what was it?
Hang on. I have something to add though. But you know what they say?
What do they say?
They
what do they say, Jen?
They say that if you want to learn how to sell and you want to learn sales and you want to learn about marketing and business, you join an MLM because they have it all structured for you. I also have done MLMs.
Yes.
And regardless of like how much money you're making or not, if you want to learn, you freaking do it. They have some of the best resources, checklists, influences. They know the secret sauce.
They do know the secret sauce.
They do.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn that, okay, I love this because now I kind of see where this is going. Okay, MLM.
Yeah, I forgot.
This makes so much sense all of a sudden.
This makes so much sense.
I thought you were going to say Melaleuca, and I was like, me too.
No, so New Sarity. And okay, so what it was a skincare product.
Oh,
it was skin.
Like, what's this curveball going to be? We sold wrenches.
New Sarity. So no, the company was New Sarity. The product was called Skin Sarity.
Skin Sarity.
That's so weird that my brain. It's been so long since I thought about it.
Yeah.
So it was like this roll-on product, okay, on your face. You wore it at night. It was a face mask.
Okay.
And it's supposed to help with like everything, wrinkles, everything, hydration, acne.
Segue into the beauty industry.
All of the things, right? So I learned a lot, right? So obviously it was mat leave with Boss. I mean, the tough part about MLMs is the big dreams.
Yeah.
And which, don't get me wrong, you got to have it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot, and I don't know. I learned a lot about myself. I learned that, obviously this was the rise of the Facebook. And I could make a post on Facebook and I learned that people listened to what I had to say.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the intro to selling and the intro to leveraging my network. I learned a lot about myself, right? Anyway, and I was really hopeful that it would take off, obviously, so I could quit my job. So there was a lot of stress in that.
Yeah. And you're doing that while you're on maternity leave. Yeah. Okay. Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
You get it. So you're present as a mom, but and I do think I had postpartum depression, but was never diagnosed. Like I just had that, and you just kind of work through it, but we all,
oh God,
we all
do.
Have
a baby. Honestly, I've actually had a conversation a few times with people who have had conflict with someone who's either pre or postnatal.
Yeah.
Postnatal.
Yeah.
And the first thing that pops in my head, I've mentioned it and I'm like, you got to give her a break. And then I've said those hormones are fucked. And they're like, oh shit, I didn't even think of that. And then they're able to remove themselves from the intensity of the situation because it's crazy. It's crazy.
This is the knowledge that we have now.
Yeah, that we have now. But before it was just who's this psycho? You're coming back to work after a year and you're a bitch. And it's then you go home and cry.
It's no joke.
Yeah.
That whole, there's so much going on with it, right?
Yeah.
And then anyway, get back to work. And I had this like, again, chip on my shoulder too. Like, okay, I'm a mom of 2.
Yeah.
I'm back to work. I'm going to figure something. I'm going to do really well. I'm going to like, advance in my career.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I was doing really well. Like, you know, business was coming to me. I was working with some people. I had crafted a niche where I was getting recognized at the bank. It was kind of interesting, but at the same time, I was like, this sucks, right?
Yeah.
Like every day when I talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger, this is where it comes into me. Every single day at lunchtime, I'd come home and I'd turn on Arnold Schwarzenegger, like his motivational speaking. I don't even know what it was.
YouTube or something?
I don't know. I think so.
CD?
I think so. It was like Army. He was like in my ear. Like, and I was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do this. And yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. That's what I did.
Mine was Oprah.
Yours was Oprah.
Yeah. Mine's your teacup. Oprah.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know, something's got to give. My friend Carissa, who I also worked with at the bank, she had met with Heather. And so we also we both coached with Heather. And so that's how I started in my own business. So what happened was she was a career coach at the time. So she was helping people in that landscape. And really it was like about looking inward and who you were and kind of taking inventory of all the things that you were good at and what you hated. Like for the first time, somebody like actually like saying, okay, it's okay to like hate things.
Yeah. Totally.
Like women are like so good at just grin and bear it. You know what I mean? Like do the things that suck.
Yeah.
We're so good at that.
I know we are. We really are. Like, again, even when you're saying like with getting resentful.
Yeah.
Like, I think like we're just, it's that maternal and it is like that feminine, like we can do anything and everything and we will, God damn it. But it's not good. Like there's always some kind of consequence to it, you know? And to give the permission for someone to give you permission to say, and that's, I think, a lot of what coaching is to say, it doesn't have to be this way. Really, it's changing your paradigms, like your limiting thoughts and beliefs or someone else and what the hell was a paradigm back, 10 years ago or a limiting belief? Yeah. We weren't talking about that shit, right?
13 years ago.
Yeah.
I guess. Well,
exactly.
12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny because it's amazing because 12 years isn't a lot of time, but also like it's a long time.
Entire grade 6 to grade kindergarten. It's not a grade. Kindergarten to grade 12.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's a long time, but it isn't. Like it's crazy. Anyway,
I think it's a long time.
It's a long time.
Jesus Christ. I've been with Nick for like 11 years. 12 years is a long time. 11's a long time.
Friends and I have been together like 20-something years. No, that's a long time.
Okay.
Anywho, yeah. So she really like opened up my eyes to a lot of things. We talked about, it was very interesting. Like, I think one of the things that's coming up for me right now is the focusing on things that embarrass you. That was really interesting for me.
You kind of had to look your imperfections in the mirror.
Yes.
And who was like, that's your first time.
It was
ever doing that.
It was my first time ever doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was amazing. So that was incredible. I highly recommend that. Coaching, yes. Yeah. But like also like looking at yourself. Yeah. Right. And so what was interesting during that time was all of the different things that were coming at me at that time. It was like I'd opened up to the universe. Finally, I'm ready to like do the work and I'm ready for a change. I don't know what that is, but and at that same time, two things were kind of coming in. One, I was up for a promotion at work, which I applied for, didn't get, found out later that I was sabotaged actually by my boss. Very interesting. Hey, yeah, very female. I don't know, just very negative. I think she just wanted me to stay because I was helping her, right? It was kind of one of those types of dynamics. Don't know.
The job you're in.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And then at the same time, that's when I got a text from a friend that was like, I got an organic tan. I got the spray tan. and you should do it. And then that's when I learned about the spray tanning, and I was like, okay, where my brain was with this was I could do this on the side. I could still keep my bank job. Just again, have the other thing.
You can be a mom.
I can be a mom. I can, if I need to quit my job or whatever, then it's like, and I figured out all the finances of it and everything. And then, I could do this, but here's the identity shift. Here's where the success thing comes in, is like, logically that makes sense. And like so many women are going through this because, again, society is a patriarchal society. Yeah. So now women are figuring out how do we survive within this? And this was like, okay, I figured out how to survive within this. But the shift and the identity shift is okay, I'm this like educated, great job, living the dream with my 2 kids. I've reached it. I've reached, what success is. Yeah. Now I'm going to quit all that. Yeah. To do spray tans out of my basement. You know what I mean?
Well, hubby sleeps upstairs because you just came off the night shift.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not
the definition of success.
That is not the definition of success. That's no master's degree. Mm-hmm. Like at that time that's where I was in my head. I was like really wanting to, obviously my career, maybe take some education, get more courses, get the certificate. Like in the banking world, there's those things, right? You can do all the things. Who knows what that would have led to, right? But yeah, so here I was. And I mean, obviously I had a client, I remember him so well. It's like, how's your little spray tan business? How's your little spray tan business going? So, but you know what though? Like, obviously that drove me too. It always does. And it's like, okay, I always had big dreams for it. And I think that's when it was like, okay, I could do this and it could go into all these other places, right? Yeah. And do all these different things, which it obviously has. But I think that's the other thing too, is like sitting down when we talk about like your significant other, whatever, you sit down. I'll just like, I will never forget that as long as I live. It was the hardest conversation I've ever had my entire life. To sit there and say to my husband, I need to quit the bank and do this full time. Yeah. Like the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Wow. Crazy, hey? Yeah. And what did he do? It was hard for him at first, but he was 100% supportive, and he was like, okay, again, I had to pull out the business plan.
Did he want to see it, or was it for you?
No, it was for you. When I say the business plan, I mean, say, okay, I already figured out the numbers, right? If I do this many tans and then, we saving this much. I mean, back then, childcare was crazy expensive. Now government's, no, it's, different now, but
it's different now. But if you make X amount of money, you don't get anything.
That's true.
We've never we've always made too much money.
Yeah.
So how did you feel? Like at what moment of all of that, like what was your biggest moment of like really feeling like you failed? Like it probably wasn't that moment. I'm sure it came after. I feel like it was after. When was your like in that transition from the bank into organic tan? What was
September?
Your like? Yeah. Okay. Like it was past September? No, I'm just kidding.
No. It was September, because September was a really
everyone's already tanned.
September is the worst time of the year in the spray tan business. Right. It just is. Yeah. It's just.
So when did you start? When did you go full time?
Yeah, June.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's funny.
Yeah. So I started my business in March.
Okay.
And
and then June you went full time.
And June I quit the bank. So it was only like 3 months. I was like, I'm done. I'm going to do this. Yeah. So September was really when I was like anxiety. Yeah. Like, I failed. But you know what? I just kept through it, and
So that was, what year was that? You said 2013?
Yeah, that was 2013.
Okay. Okay, and then 2 years later, Ty came around.
Because we hadn't planned on having a third. He was planned. Ty was planned. When I tell people this, it's so morbid. Like, it's so weird.
It's not. I think it's totally relevant.
So my cousin passed away in 2008, and it just changed my life. Like,
Death does that.
It changed my life. Yeah, changed my life. So I guess, yeah, I mean, obviously Elliot was a big part of everything in my life, like the decisions that I make going forward every single day, because, you know, like life is short, right? So yeah, he's always there for me, always drives everything. For whatever reason, I was like, we need a third. My husband's like, well, you can't have a spare kid in case something happens to it. And I said, yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can, and I need to.
Because I always thought, you know, my cousin, there he was, the two of them. And, you know, and there's my aunt and uncle, and now they have one, and they had two. And I don't know, it's just, it's not funny. Everybody needs a sibling.
Yeah.
And what if something happens to one? And so anyway, that's where Ty was born. And yeah, his middle name is Elliot too. So yeah.
We'll
And
dedicate this episode to him.
And he's such a blessing,
Yeah.
Ty. Like he's just, he's too much. He's so, I can't imagine our life without him.
Yeah. But in that moment in September when you were like, fuck, what'd I do? Like, explain that. What did that feel like in the depths of your soul?
Oh, I don't remember. Like, what's so hard is it's been so long ago, and I've done so much work, and it was utter panic.
You should ask Brent.
I don't know if he wouldn't know.
No.
I was very good at
Hiding it? I don't know. Are you? That's a good question. We should ask them. Because Nick usually has me bang on. He said some stuff, and I'm like, oh, how dare you? But I'm like, shit, that's exactly.
I wonder what he would say. It might surprise me, because it's been a long time since we've talked about it. Like, there's the ups and the downs, and that's the thing with business, right? And it's like, and I've had to learn so many things. So many things.
So you're stressed. Like, what do you do when you're really stressed? Or what did you do then when you're really stressed?
I know exactly what I
get. Big, mad, and angry?
No.
That's me when I'm stressed. Big, mad, and angry.
No.
Okay.
What do you do? It works really hard.
Frantic?
I just ignore everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get into my own, which isn't good, right?
No.
And I think that's, you know, and that's where Brent's been great for me, but also an enabler.
Yeah.
You know, so he just like takes over. He's like, okay, my wife is like, needs my help because she's in her bubble.
Yeah.
Like,
so he takes over in the house, and
which he has, like, that's what Brent does, which I'm so grateful for. But at the same time, it's like been an interesting thing, like this past year with my work changing and like me trying to kind of come back to my feminine a little bit, like,
in the household.
And he's not having anything to do with that.
Yeah.
Because he's been doing it for so long.
And you can't. Like when we talk about like setting new boundaries or creating new spoken or unspoken rules, I think that's a huge thing, because you can't just go for years, 13 years with this one rule. Yeah. And then all of a sudden just like change it without like making it aware, having like a plan, having a post-it on the fridge that says, I'm stepping back into the kitchen, honey.
Exactly.
And to have them like accept that right away. And those changes are, like, the more people you bring in during those times of change into your inner circle, the better.
Or failure is not enough.
But yet, this is what we're talking about today.
But that's where I was like, just nose to the grindstone.
And do you think that fixed the problem, or do you think it was just a distraction? Because
that's a hard question, Jen. Fix the problem. Like, what do you mean by fix?
Did it fix? Like,
what's hard is I can't tell you any different, because where I am today is just an accumulation of all the things.
When I get like, I will get frantic too, but now I'm very aware.
Yeah.
Like if we don't have, and it's usually actually the time of year, it's very, very slow November and December for tiny home sales. Home sales period usually, right? And then you go into the spring, and then you get all the action. So I go into this frantic state too. But what I've realized now through the spiritual work I've done and through just self-awareness and personal growth is that most of the time, pretty much everything I was doing in that frantic energy, the results would have happened anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you know, there's so much content out there at this point in time. You have your system set up now. In the beginning, the systems and stuff weren't set up. You had to do that. But now that we're, 8 years into it, you don't need, like, it's going to happen anyway. The frantic energy is exhausting. And I think that's where a lot of the burnout comes from. And you think 100%. That it's driving the results, but it's really just not. It's really just the actions. You could have taken, 20% of those actions in a calm way. You could have gone on a trip, or like, it's like step back for a minute and relax for a sec, made some muffins with your kids, and you would have had the same results. That's hard. That's really hard.
I probably would have. Yeah.
It's really, really hard to wrap your head around it. And even now, like, I'll find myself going to frantic energy and I'll be like, no, fuck it. I'm just going to be fucking frantic for a few hours. I'm just going to be frantic for a few days. And then I'm like, okay, I got everything done that I thought I needed to do subconsciously to make this happen. And then I can like relax for a minute.
And then the timeline's a little bit foggy. Like, obviously.
What sucked the most in that point in time? Like the biggest, like, do you have a moment that really stood out beside it being September? Like, where were you sitting? What describe that suckiest moment in that transition?
The energy was pure anxiety, which is funny because I didn't even know what that was.
Mm.
It's taken me this long though to actually learn what anxiety is, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I just always felt like anxiety isn't something that I experience. No, it's not, Lucky. It's me being a complete idiot.
It's just that like you've experienced it, but you haven't defined it. Like you're like, this is just normal.
This is normal.
Yeah.
That's sad. I didn't realize, and then I didn't realize how much I enjoy anxiety. Like
how much it fuels you.
How much it fuels
you can use it as a tool.
Yeah. Which you can. 100%. I mean, that's the whole. I mean, anxiety is there for a reason. But it was just like so. Like I had the most interesting anxiety, for quite a few years. Like just constantly, like that financial anxiety always was there. It's different now. It's transformed. It's a different type. And I'm a totally different person now.
But that is the unique part of the story. When you're in it, you're just like, this fucking sucks. And this sucks. I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. And then here you are, however many years later, and you're like, I can't even remember. It's just September, anxiety. I don't know.
Yeah.
So just another great example of how we suck. And you do too.
We did it.
Next week on Unsuccessful Podcast, we're asking the question, does trying too hard actually make us suck? We'll break down some limiting thoughts and beliefs about being new, dealing with competition, and trying hard without seeing results. We'll talk about how these beliefs hold us back and what it takes to overcome them. If today's episode resonated with you, please, please, please leave us a review. We would be so grateful for you. Subscribe and make sure you share this with your friends. We want to know that we're making an impact. Until next time, remember, life might be like a total dumpster fire sometimes, but hey, it's your dumpster fire. Bye for now.